Rise and Shine Garage Doors is a premium garage door service company servicing the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, including outer state Minnesota and western Wisconsin from St. Cloud all the way down to Rochester, Minnesota. We pride ourselves on providing the best customer service in all garage door repairs. We take great pride in having a premium service for all of our customers. Rise of the Rooster podcast is here to help you improve your relationship that you have with the largest mechanical moving object in your home. Now here's your host, Logan Greene, with the Rise of the Rooster podcast. We are clucking good at what we do.
Hello there. Welcome to the Rise of the Rooster podcast. I got our fearless leader in here today, Alex Johantgen. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good. I just want to do a quick congratulations. When this comes out either later today or Friday, we'll officially be at 8 years in business. Woo!
Yeah, man, it's been a great run. So it's hopefully keep it going here for another 8 years and keep moving on and keep growing.
For sure. Do you feel like you are at the point where you thought you'd be in 8 years, or do you think we've gone further than what you expected?
I feel like when we started, I wouldn't even imagine of getting as far as we are today and doing stuff like this, even having a podcast and, all the employees that we have and how far we've grown and being in in multiple markets with Rochester and stuff like that. So it's, that when I first started wasn't even on my radar. So I'd say we far surpassed where I thought we could go. But knowing that I have a lot of goals still of where we want to go and keep growing. So,
I mean, we can only imagine where we're going to be once we've been in business for 16 years. I mean,
right.
That's if we're already, even from when I joined the team a little over a year and a half ago. I mean, just to think where we are now is just massive change and massive growth. And so I'm really excited to see where Rise and Shine goes in the future. And this should be really exciting. So I'm really excited for it. So I'm glad I get to be along for the ride and part of it, and also part of what's helping push it forward. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of the team and helping continue to have us grow.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been obviously a huge asset to helping us move forward. And yeah, we appreciate having you here, be a part of this great culture we're building. So
thank you. Well, today I kind of wanted to touch base with you a little bit about a really common repair. I should say repair option that we get asked for a lot is panel replacement. And panel replacement can be a really great option for a lot of people. But then we also get a lot of customers that are asking for panel replacements when it really doesn't make sense. And so we kind of want to talk about what customers should really be looking for and kind of what scenarios would really fit a panel replacement and which ones really wouldn't. I mean, a panel replacement can absolutely be a step in the right direction when it comes to fixing your garage door. And replacing panels is a great way to extend the life of your door without compromising the functionality of a garage door that you currently have. But with panel replacements being a great alternative to complete door replacements, what scenarios do you see are most beneficial for a customer who is asking for a panel replacement?
I see it most beneficial for customers who really pretty much only damage maybe one section of the door. And hopefully that door is a little bit newer in age. If it's getting older, there's likely other problems where just replacing a section accompanied with the other things that need to be done may not be the best solution. So I think, if it's a newer door, 5 or maybe even 10 years old or newer, and it's just one section, I think that's a great situation where we can usually come in and replace a section. Usually you can't really notice too much of a difference. Once they start getting over 5 years old, you can definitely see a difference when you replace just one section of a door. The paint generally starts to fade, stuff like that. So yeah, I would say just a newer door, one section only is usually a great scenario where we can do that and make the customers make sure we get everything replaced for the customer.
So. For sure. I mean, of course, when we do a panel replacement and people just want a panel, that's it. Like we're still reusing the hardware. We're still reusing the cables, the bottom brackets, the springs, and all the tracking. I mean, when replacing a panel, what other things would you look at having replaced to make the most of having a panel replaced?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to how old it is. If it's, if the door's only maybe a year old, you're probably fine just replacing that one section or even 2 years. But, once it gets over that, if there's any like rust on the door, especially on the cables and bottom brackets, a lot of times when we're replacing a bottom section, we have to take those off anyway. It's a good time to evaluate that situation to make sure that there isn't any, compromising rust or anything on those items, to avoid a future headache down the road and just give the customer peace of mind. I think also, when you're looking at the vertical tracks, you want to make sure there's no rust on that. They're not damaged. A lot of times, if the bottom panel is damaged, there's a good chance the customer hit the door with something. And a lot of times that makes the door go crooked. It could damage the track. The track could be bent slightly. So you want to make sure you address those situations and make sure there aren't, going to be any long-term effects of, not covering everything.
For sure. And I think a lot of times when we're out in the field and we're looking at a door, I mean, you've been doing this for a really long time, and I know you can you can look at a door and tell its age pretty quickly. I mean, kind of how old is too old when we're looking at a garage door that needs to be replaced, or replaced rather than replacing that panel?
Yeah, I think for sure anything over 10 years old, you should start definitely leaning towards replacement. I think if you can notice there's going to be some significant fade, I mean, that could be even on a 7-year-old door or 5-year-old door. I think that's a scenario where you might also want to consider replacement just because one, that new section is going to kind of stick out like a sore thumb. There's probably other things going on with the door. If it's over 5 years old, you might, need a spring soon or something like that. And to avoid having to paint the whole door, once you add up all the costs, for all that stuff, it's probably not going to be that far off of just replacing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that kind of brings up like almost how we just asked how old is too old, but how far broken is too far broken too. I think I know we have kind of a standard rule that we kind of look at a door, but I mean, what would be if you're looking at somebody that potentially backed into their door and they just bang the bottom panel, but there's a little bit of a bow or bend in that second panel. I mean, how far is too far?
yeah, I think once you start talking, especially for residential, once you start replacing more than two sections, the manufacturers sell a whole door at a significantly less price than, just a section by itself. So once you start adding up two sections, you're really getting to a point where you really should consider a new door. Again, with all the other, mechanics of the door, all the other hardware being older, stuff like that, it really just starts to not make sense to just replace two sections. In a scenario where you might replace two sections, I could see, in a commercial setting where they have, 7, 8 sections. And that's, a much more significant cost to replace a commercial door than it is, a couple sections on a commercial door.
For sure. I mean, of course, we kind of talked a little bit about the cons of replacing a panel, but can we go a little bit more into like what are some of those pros and cons versus when you're looking at replacing a panel as opposed to replacing the whole door?
Yeah, I mean, the pros of replacing the whole door for sure is just you're going to get all new hardware. Everything is going to be under warranty, especially with our company. You're going to get an extended warranty through us. It's just going to give you that peace of mind knowing that everything's covered for 5 years. And, you don't have to worry about a cable breaking, a spring breaking, stuff like that. So if the cons of replacing a section is you're going to replace that one section, but you still have all the old components of the door still. The springs are probably a basic spring, maybe 10, 15,000 cycles, which on average, maybe lasts you 4 to 6 years. So if your door's older than 5 years, you're probably going to have a broken spring soon. So that's going to be an added expense to you. Also, you're probably going to have a situation where maybe your car's stuck in the garage. Nobody wants to wake up and be on their way to work, but can't open their door. So those are scenarios where you definitely want to consider leaning towards a new door. And I think that's the pros of the new door is all the additional components you get with buying a whole new door.
For sure. Yeah, that's something I kind of bring up to a lot of customers too. I'm like, yeah, it might be cheaper up front, but then what are you getting after that? Because there's typically not a big warranty that comes with that panel replacement. We will warranty our work, but anything else that goes along with that, that's not something that we could touch. So, but I think we still get enough of them, though. We want to make sure we're still providing these quality panel replacement options for our customers. And I think a big part of it is also making sure that we have the right manufacturers for it too. I mean, what are some of the more common manufacturers that we work with in getting those panel replacements?
Yeah, I mean, Amar's one of our main manufacturers, but I mean, we can get really any type of garage door panel as long as it's still made. So that's a big indicator, especially when you start getting over 10 years old. There's a lot of models and series that have been discontinued by manufacturers. So I think that's really important to know is, we aren't able to get everything because some manufacturers no longer make that section. But just to get back to your question, I mean, we can get Clopay, CHI, Safeway, pretty much any type of section the customer wants to get, we usually can get as long as it's still manufactured.
For sure. Now, I kind of want to put a scenario in front of you. I know you've mentioned everything once, but I kind of want to put it in kind of like one big solution here. So if you were in a situation where, let's say, you either bumped into a bottom panel, or even better yet, you had this is more likely in Minnesota. You were snow blowing your driveway, and then you ended up hitting the one of the panels. Your door is 5 years old, and what are and it looks like it needs a panel replacement. What other repairs would you recommend for a door that's 5 years old that just needs one panel replaced?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely think about the spring. Like I already mentioned, if the spring's 5 years old, most builders grade springs are anywhere between 10 to 15,000 cycles. And most people use their door like it's their front door on their home. So, that thing's going up 5 to 10 times a day. And, on average, like we already mentioned, that's only going to last you 4 to 6 years. So I think it's always important to get ahead of that, and just make sure that you're not going to be stuck in a scenario where you can't leave your home because your car's stuck in the garage. A couple other things I would maybe look at. You mentioned snow blowing. With all the weather related issues that we have, with moisture, and then also people laying salt right down by the door, you do get a lot of corrosion. So I think it's important to look at the cables and bottom brackets as well as the tracks and make sure those aren't compromised with rust. And then if it is the bottom panel that's damaged, I think if there's a reinforcement strut on that bottom panel, generally that's also damaged and will need to be replaced.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's perfectly puts the whole situation into one box. It's just like, okay, well, this is why when we roll up to somebody's house, we're looking at the age of the door. We're looking at the corrosion that's going on. We look at everything, and not just like, oh, you want a panel replacement? Here's the measurements. All right, here's the ticket. Call us if you want it. That's not something that we're going to do.
I also think it's important too, like, just our whole process of providing that 29-point inspection. We're going to find those things and also build the options, so the customer can make the right decision for them. In some scenarios, that section might not even need to be replaced. I've seen sections that look really bad, but once you take that damaged strut off, you can actually bend that section back, put a couple new struts on it, and do a reset on the door, and they're back up and running. So I think some customers might be open to having that option. That's why we provide all those options to the customer.
For sure. Yeah, I've definitely had a couple situations where I remember a day where I had two in a row where the customer backed into their door on their way out the door that morning. And both of them were initially thinking that we'd either have to replace the door or do a panel replacement. But I looked at it, I'm like, the front facade's really not that dented, if at all. And I mean, I was able to fix it. And both of those customers were ecstatic once I was able to look at the whole situation and provide some repair options so that they didn't have to go with panel replacement. They were able to go with the repair option that made the door look just as good, if not better. And it ran a whole lot better than it was running before with some of the other repairs that I made for it. So, I mean, when a customer calls Rise and Shine to have us come out there and do a panel replacement, what should they expect?
I think they should expect us to come out and be able to provide multiple options for them, so that they can choose what's right for their home. Also, they can expect us to be able to get them a price in a reasonable amount of time. Sometimes, it is kind of hard to track down what exact make and model of the door or the panel that's damaged is. But usually we're able to narrow that down fairly quickly and get a price for them. If not at the time of the appointment, for sure, either same day or next day. So usually we're trying to get them a price right away, whether that's repairing the existing door, replacing the section, or a new door. We'll provide all those options to the customer again, so they can make the best decision for them.
Yeah. I like that we still, it's funny because I've had customers say, oh, I don't want a new door option, but I still provided it anyway because I wanted them to be able to see the benefit of like, okay, here's the price of what it is to get a whole new door with a 5-year parts and warranty, and here's the price for this panel replacement, replacing 50% of the door for the panel replacement. Those costs are very similar. And so for that specific customer with that specific brand, and so I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what that customer ultimately ended up doing. I think we did end up going with replacing the door.
Right.
But yeah, that's something that it would behoove us not to provide that option for you as well. Just so you at least have something to go against and so you can kind of see what it's like. I kind of have one more big question for you. Is there a scenario that we did for a customer where a panel replacement really was the correct solution for them that you were really excited about?
Yeah. So this was actually for a commercial client. They ran a veterinary clinic in Minneapolis. And basically what ended up happening is someone tried to break into their space. They ran into the bottom 2 panels of the door. It was a flush door. So if I was going to order a door, it would have taken a lot longer than just finding the sections. Luckily, I was able to find, the sections locally and get those right away. So I actually was able to replace the bottom 2 sections the same day the break-in happened.
Wow.
Ran all the way, across town to grab the sections, came back, got them installed. They weren't the perfect color, but this scenario was a scenario where they were planning to just paint it. They just wanted it secure because basically the situation they were in, anyone could get in the clinic at this point because the door was damaged and basically just walk in. So that was a really cool scenario where we were able to solve that solution or get the solution for that customer to make sure that their business was secure and safe and no one was going to be able to just walk in overnight.
That is a much better story than the one that I had for this conversation. I love that we were able to. You shared this with us that we were able to like go above and beyond and just look around and read the scenario correctly, and then we're able to find stuff that sometimes we might not initially think is available. I mean, for the most part, when you hear flush door, you're like, that'll be 6 to 8 weeks to get in. Well, good luck. But I mean, there are manufacturers, there are companies that do have some of these panels just laying around. They want to get rid of them too. So if we can find a scenario that's going to work perfect for it, we'd be happy to go get it and get it installed. And if we can do it same day, even better.
She was so thrilled and happy when we were done. It was for the Minnehaha Animal Clinic. She was actually a BNI member, so it worked out great. She was so thrilled when we were done and got it all taken care of.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I have a scenario. It was a door that we installed in the summer of 2020 or 2021. I can't remember because the next winter, it would have been 21. Summer of 21, we installed this door. That winter, her husband was snow blowing the driveway. A rock came in and put one tiny pinprick dent in this door. And this customer, she's just like, yep, drives me nuts. I see it every day and I can't stand it. So, I know it's fully on us. Just find me that panel, please. So we found the panel. I mean, the door was 6 months old, but it had a penny would have completely covered this dent.
Right.
But the customer just bothered her. So she's like, just give me a panel replacement, please. And we came in, we got that replaced and she's happy as can be. And so I'm glad we were able to find another solution for something like that, where just everything worked out right. And the door was still in good condition. It was able to fade correctly, in a way that everything looked good. So yeah, we definitely are not, opposed to doing panel replacement by any means. I know there are some companies that are. And this is something I think is a really great solution that we can offer to a lot of our customers.
Yeah, I think it's important that we, at least get it out there, what to look for, especially when you're in the scenario where you might think you need a panel replacement. And I think we covered a lot of that in this episode of what to look for, what other things might be going wrong, and, just making sure that that's the right fit for you and your family.
For sure. Well, thank you very much. I think we've kind of wrapped up everything that we have for this one. This is a pretty short episode today.
Yeah. I'm not used to this. Usually we're going about 40 minutes.
All right. Just cruising. But hey, thank you very much for coming in and having this conversation with me. And hopefully our customers will find this as valuable as we.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait till the next time I'm on the next episode.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, sounds good.